What's up guys, today we will be finally going over the Ruinous Effigy builds. There will be 3 in this video, 1 for each character, and the title is going to be referring to the Titan 1, which will be the first one in this video. So let's just go ahead and begin. First thing I want to show off is this mod right here called Sustained Charge. Become charged with light by rapidly defeating combatants with auto rifles, trace rifles, or machine guns. And I want to show off this mod because if I didn't, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would ask questions about it. And it does work with the Ruinous Effigy, the actual laser part of the weapon. But if you pick up a relic, the relic kills do not count towards this perk, so you cannot become charged with light by getting kills with the relic. Also, the relic does not create masterwork orbs, even though the weapon is masterworked. So we're gonna have to think of different ways to become charged with light in this video. So first, starting off with the Titan build, there is a lot going on in this build. There's gonna be 2 versions of this build, one for just journal play, then one that's just like a full send all out build. So let's just go ahead and begin with our exotic armor piece, the Stronghold. Maximizes guard stats on equipped swords. Shots blocked immediately after guarding will heal you. And even though this exotic is made for swords, as long as you have a sword equipped in your heavy slot, what I just mentioned will work with blocking with the relic from Ruinous Effigy. So now we go ahead and get a kill and pick up the relic and start blocking. Not only will we get the drain lifesteal-like effect whenever we do damage to enemies, whenever we block damage, it will also proc the Stronghold exotic perk. So pretty much we have Devour while blocking with this on Titan. So that's gonna help a lot for ad clear. And another thing about this relic is it's treated like a weapon in the game. And what I mean by that is its damage will be increased by buffs, for example, Will Radiance and Weapons of Light, just like a weapon would. Which is interesting because of the fact that the light attack is also pretty much a melee attack. As you saw, the damage went up with Weapons of Light on all 3 of the attacks on the relic. Then we also use a debuff, for example, Oppressive Darkness. Once again, all the damage numbers will go up and stack with Weapons of Light, just like a regular weapon would. But as I mentioned, if you're doing light attacks with a relic, you're pretty much doing melee hits. And I found 3 melee buffs all on Titan that work with the light attack on the relic. The first one will be Knockout on Bottom Tree Striker, which is going to be whenever we get an enemy low health, we will proc Knockout, which will increase our melee damage and range. So as you see, without the buff, if we go ahead and hit this knight, it's going to hit for 7,403. Now we go ahead and get an enemy red bar to proc Knockout. We're going to now hit for 11,844. Which is going to be a 60% buff as long as we have knockout procced on the light attacks of the relic. The other 2 buffs that will work with light attacks on the relic are both on Top Tree Sentinel. The first one being Defensive Strike, which is going to be the overshield whenever we use our charge melee. Then also that overshield will increase our melee damage and reload speed. So now if we go ahead and pick up the relic and get a charge melee kill first, we're going to get Defensive Strike for 20 full seconds, so a very long time. And this will increase the light attack damage on the relic by 50%. So 50% increase for 20 full seconds every single time we get a charge melee kill. And this will stack with Weapons of Light and Oppressive Darkness. So not only is the relic being treated like a weapon and get increased from Weapons of Light, it's also being treated like a melee attack with a light attack and getting the melee buff from Defensive Strike. As you saw, we were hitting nearly 20,000 per light attack. Then the final buff that will work with the light attack on the relic will be a hidden one on Top Tree whenever you pop Ward of Dawn. If we're not in our bubble, we hit 2468, but now we pop our bubble and melee something inside the bubble, our damage will go up to 3702, which is going to be another 50% increase to our melee damage. And once again, this will stack not only with Weapons of Light and Oppressive Darkness, but also the Defensive Strike buff. So now we have 2 50% melee buffs, 35% from Weapons of Light, then also 30% from Oppressive Darkness. So now if we go ahead and do this full combo on Greg to see what the damage is, it's going to be hitting for quite a lot at just under 29,000 per hit, which is a lot for a relic that we can spam very, very quickly. As you see, we spam 10 light attacks and see how long that takes. It's going to take roughly 4.688 seconds. Which means the DPS of this full combo is going to be 61.1 thousand, and we're just using a light attack on a relic. Then if you get the timing down, you can spam these light attacks very, very quickly by spamming jump between hitting. So now that means the DPS, if you did that, would go all the way up to just under 81,000 with a light attack from a relic that has infinite ammo. So now looking at the rest of the mods, we're going to be using obviously Oppressive Darkness as we mentioned before. Then we're going to use Charge Harvester, which is going to be while we're not charged with light, any kill or assist will have a small chance to cause us to become charged with light. Then we're going to use stacks on top of that, so every single time that does happen, we get 2 stacks of charge with light. Then with those stacks, we're going to do 2 things. The first being heavy-handed. While charged with light, regain half of your melee energy when you use a charge melee, consuming 1 stack of charge with light. So that mod right there paired with Defensive Strike will mean we pretty much have infinite melee charges because of the fact that every single time we get a kill With the overshield proc, we get a portion of our melee charge back. Then on top of that, every single time we use our charge, we'll get 50% from heavy-handed. Then finally, the last mod we're going to be using is going to be Lucent Blade, just because we can. You can really use whatever you want in this final slot. If you want to use something like armaments, go ahead and do that. So yeah, pretty much the entire concept of this build is you get a relic to spawn, you get a charge melee kill to proc the overshield, which will give you 50% more damage on your light attack for ad clear. And also as you get kills, you'll get your melee charge back. So you can pretty much do this over and over again forever and always have an overshield and always have that 50% more light attack damage. And whenever you get up to a boss, you have the full combo of the bubble, oppressive darkness, defensive strike, then also the buff from being inside your bubble. So yeah, overall that build is extremely strong, but now we're going to take it to the next level and just full send it. So for this version, you're going to need the Seraph AR, Seraph Hand Cannon, or the Seraph LMG, which you cannot grind for anymore. You could only get them last season, but we're going to be using one of those options to create Warmind cells. I have the AR on it with anti-barrier rounds and also breach resonator on my chest piece. And we're also going to change out pretty much all the mods. The first one we're going to be using is Grasp of the Warmind, which will allow us to pick up and carry Warmind cells. That way we can stick it to whatever boss we want. Then we're also going to change out our exotic armor piece to Doomfang Pauldron. That way Void melee kills will give us our super. That way we can get our bubble back very quickly. We're also going to be using Power of Rasputin now, which is going to be a tiny buff to weapon damage to enemies near Warmind cells. Then we're also going to be using Warmind's Longevity, which will increase the duration of Warmind cells, which means we can use that buff on boss fights for a longer duration. And finally, the last mod we're going to be using is Global Reach for ad clear, then also increase the radius of Power Rasputin. So now pretty much how this works is you use your AR, whatever you have, to create Warmind cells, and you can shoot those Warmind cells for ad clear, or you can save them and pick them up and throw them at bosses. So on this Ogre, we at 795 without the buff, and then we go ahead and stick them with a Warmind cell and proc Power Rasputin. It's going to go up to 875, which is going to be a 10% increase. And that 10% will stack on top of everything else we showed off earlier in this build. So now doing that all on Greg, we're going to have the highest DPS possible for this relic. As you see, doing all of the things necessary. Hitting Greg, we now hit 31,551, which is a lot for a light attack on a relic, meaning the DPS will be 67,000. Then we spam light attacks by jumping, and it will go up to 89,000 DPS. Yeah. So yeah, that's the Titan build, and I don't know how I'm going to move on from that, but now going on to the Hunter build, we're going to start off with Bottom Tree Tether, then also Gambler's Dodge. That way we can get our melee charge back very quickly, and also Graviton Forfeit to increase the duration of our invisibility effects. So pretty much the entire concept of this build is you get a relic to spawn in, you invis yourself, then you block with a relic, and it does not take you out of invisibility, which means you can walk around and kill stuff without them even knowing you're there. And then by the time the relic runs out, you then have your dodge ready, which means you dodge to get your melee, which means you have your next invis smoke grenade, and you rinse and repeat over and over again and just kill stuff without them even knowing. And with this build, we're going to use a lot of the similar mods. Charge Harvester to become Charge with Light once again with the relic. Stacks on stacks to get ×2 instead of ×1 every single time that happens. Then we're going to have Lucent Blade for our DPS option with the Falling Guillotine. Then finally, the last two mods we're going to be using is Oppressive Darkness once again, then also Fonto Light, which has now been renamed to Reactive Pulse. Just because we can really, you can use whatever you want in that last slot. It's kind of like a free slot. But overall, the entire concept of this build is you pretty much go around invisible while killing enemies. And yeah, that's I mean, that's pretty much it. That's kind of broken that you can kill stuff without them ever seeing you. And you can pretty much chain that combo forever. And for whatever reason, if you do take damage, you have Fonto Light. So yeah. And finally, on the Warlock build, we're going to use Devour with Nezarec Sin, then also Oppressive Darkness, because of the fact that Ruinous Effigy is Void, then also all of the abilities with a Relic are also considered Void kills. So this build is just the generic Voidwalker Nezarec Sin build, and it works really well with the blocking part of the Relic, because of the fact that every single time you get Devour kill, you can pretty much out-heal the self-damage of once you're at 1 ammo, and pretty much block forever. Then with this build, we're going to be using a lot of the similar mods once again to become Charged with Light, as we were with the previous two builds. But this time we're going to throw in a curveball. We're going to use Surprise Attack, which is going to be that 2x damage for sidearms whenever you reload or ready them while Charged with Light. And with this, we're going to use a Breach Light, and not any Breach Light. We're going to be using an Osmosis Demolitionist one, because of the fact that we can throw a grenade while we have our Breach Light out and make it Void also, which means yet another Void weapon to proc Nezarec Sin. So how this build works is you pretty much proc Devour and use the Relic to block and become Charged with Light. Then once you are Charged with Light, there's going to be two options. You can swap over to your sidearm and proc Charge Magazine ×10. Then throw your Oppressive Darkness grenade to debuff an enemy. Then also change your Breach Light into a Void weapon and pretty much use that until you're out of your Charge Magazine. Then you swap back to Ruinous Effigy and rinse repeat once again. Then the other option is once you're charged with light, if there's a high health target in front of you, you also have Lucent Blade, so you can throw your grenade to debuff them, then use your guillotine as your main DPS. So overall, that build is just a generic Void Walker build with the curveball, the 2x damage, Void, Breachlight, which is kind of cool. Then the Hunter build is actually kind of insane. You're pretty much invisible forever while still doing damage, which is really crazy and really overpowered in my opinion. And then finally you have the Titan build, which is really crazy DPS for a relic that has infinite ammo. And I can't imagine they purposely made it so the relic takes buffs like weapons and also melee buffs at the same time. So I'm not sure how long that will last, but that is definitely something you can stack right now and get up to nearly 90,000 DPS. So yeah, these 3 builds were absolutely crazy. I pretty much full sent all the builds and threw every mod and trick up my sleeve at them to make them as unique as possible. Anyways, let me know which of the 3 builds was your favorite. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.